Welcome to today's edition of 3 Minute Halacha. Whether the origin of eating 3 meals on Shabbat is rabbinic or biblical, and whether the reason is in commemoration of the manna, the food that fell from heaven for us during the 40 years in the desert, or an extension of Oneg Shabbat, of pleasure for Shabbat, the obligation when it comes to food that must be eaten in these 3 meals differs a bit between the first 2 meals and the third. The Tosfot in Sukkah Daf Chav Zayin Amud Aleph writes that in contrast to meals on Sukkot, Shabbat meals must always have bread because of the connection we have to the manna, which was in place of the bread. The Mordechai writes similarly, citing Rebbe Eliezer of Metz, that even the third meal should include bread, the Seudah Shlishit, because we need to eat food that requires a full Birkat HaMazon. However, the Mordechai disagrees, and he notes the opinion of the Ravya, who allows other type of food to be eaten for Seudah Shlishit. Although all 3 meals are derived from the same source, the position of the Mordechai is that it relates to the number of meals and not to the content of those meals, and therefore Seudah Shlishit can be different. The Shulchan Aruch in Siman Reish Ayin Daled Seif Daled rules that the first and second Shabbat meals must consist of bread. And this is because these are essential meals. However, when it comes to the third meal, the Shulchan Aruch in the very next paragraph in Seif Hey mentions several opinions. According to one opinion, you have to have bread like at every other meal, but others permit food made of the grains, different kinds of mizonot, food that could be eaten along with bread, and some even permit the consumption of fruit instead of any other food. The Shulchan Aruch rules that one ideally should eat bread unless if it's difficult, in which case one can eat something else. Since there are opinions that it's not a complete obligation to eat bread at Seudah Shlishit, we also learn that if one forgot to add the ritzei, the special paragraph for Shabbat, in the benching, you don't have to repeat the benching, since ritzei is only necessary if you must bench, and you may not have to bench since the meal doesn't have to consist of bread. Regarding the question of kiddush for the third meal, the Shulchan Aruch rules that unlike the first 2 meals, there's no need to make kiddush over wine at Seudah Shlishit. However, the Rambam disagrees. And the Rambam in Hilchot Shabbat, Perek Lamed Halacha Yud, writes that wine should be part of the Seudah Shlishit, of the third meal. The Tur Shulchan Aruch understands that according to the Rambam, Kiddush has to be made. And in fact, he quotes the Rosh, who disagrees with that position. While the Beit Yosef, the Mechaber of the Shulchan Aruch, mentions that even according to the Rambam, it's possible that the reason wine is required is not to make Kiddush, but to establish that this meal, Seudah Shlishit, is also an important meal. While it, as noted, the Shulchan Aruch rules that there is no need to make Kiddush or even to drink wine at Seudah Shlishit, the Mishnah Berurah in Siman Reish Tzadi Aleph Siv Katan Chaf Aleph writes that one should make an effort to drink wine at Seudah Shlishit as well, fulfilling the position of the Rambam.